Hello, I'm glad you're here. I'm NatsMan, and I'm reading the Bible from beginning to end, from Genesis to Revelations. So please join me in this journey and make God's Word a part of your everyday life. This is video number 19, and today we'll be reading from the book of Exodus, starting in chapter 1. But before we start, I want to do a short preface of what Exodus is about, and that is, Exodus is the second book of the Bible. It's a continuation of the story that began in Genesis. The name Exodus actually means going out or departure, and it refers to the miraculous escape of the Israelites from slavery in Egypt. It's a defining moment in Israel's history. Traditionally, Moses is believed to have written Exodus along with the other first 5 books of the Bible, which is known as the Torah or the Pentateuch. And the writing likely took place during the Israelites' 40 years of wandering in the wilderness, which was around 1440 to 1400 BC. Exodus isn't just a historical record, it's a story of redemption, covenant, and identity. It shows God's power to deliver, his faithfulness to his promises, and his desire to dwell among his people. Chapters 1 through 12 tell how Israel becomes enslaved in Egypt and how God raises up Moses to lead them out. After a series of 10 plagues, Pharaoh finally lets them go, and the Passover is established. Chapters 13 through 18 will deal with the Israelites wandering through the wilderness. God will part the Red Sea, he'll provide manna and water, and show his presence through a pillar of cloud and fire. Chapters 19 through 24 will focus on Mount Sinai, where God gives the 10 Commandments and enters into a covenant with Israel, calling them his kingdom of priests and a holy nation. Chapters 25 through 40 will contain detailed instructions for building the tabernacle, the place where God will dwell with his people. And even after Israel sins by worshiping a golden calf, God shows his mercy and restores the covenant. Covenant relationship, God doesn't just save Israel, he calls them to live as his holy people. It shows a presence in God through the burning bush. It shows God as a deliverer. He hears the cries of his people, and he acts with power and compassion. It shows obedience and worship. Exodus lays the groundwork for how God's people are to worship him and follow him. In short, Exodus is about freedom, formation, fellowship with God. It sets the stage for everything that follows in the Bible, showing how a group of slaves became the people of God. And with that, we will start Exodus chapter 1. Exodus 1. Now these are the names of the sons of Israel who came into Egypt. Every man and his household came with Jacob. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Benjamin, Dan and Naphtali, Gad and Asher. All the souls who came out of Jacob's body were 70 souls, and Joseph was in Egypt already. Joseph died, as did all his brothers and all that generation. The children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and grew exceedingly mighty, and the land was filled with them. Now there arose a new king over Egypt who didn't know Joseph, and he said to his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come and let's wisely deal with them, lest they multiply. And it happened that when any war breaks out, they also join themselves to our enemy and fight against us, and escape out of our land. Therefore they set taskmasters over them to afflict them with their burdens. They built storage cities for Pharaoh in Pithom and Ramses, but the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied, and the more they spread out. They started to dread the children of Israel. The Egyptians ruthlessly made the children of Israel serve, and they made their lives bitter with hard service in mortar and in brick, and in all kinds of service in the field, all their service in which they ruthlessly made them serve. The king of Egypt spoke to the Hebrew midwives, of whom the name of one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah. And he said, when you perform the duty of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them on the birth stool, if it is a son, then you shall kill him. But if it is a daughter, then she shall live. But the midwives feared God and didn't do that thing of what the king of Egypt asked, what he commanded them, but saved the baby boys alive. The king of Egypt called for the midwives and said to them, why have you done this thing and saved the boys alive? The midwives said to Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women aren't like Egyptian women, for they are vigorous and give birth before the midwife comes to them. God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and grew very mighty. Because the midwives feared God, he gave them families. Pharaoh commanded all his people, saying, you shall cast every son who is born into the river, and every daughter you shall save alive. That's Exodus 1. Exodus 2. A man of the house of Levi went and took a daughter of Levi as his wife. The woman conceived and bore a son. When she saw that he was a fine child, she hid him 3 months. When she could no longer hide him, she took a papyrus basket for him and coated it with tar and with pitch. She put the child in it and laid it in the reeds by the river's bank. The sister stood far off to see what would be done of him. Pharaoh's daughter came down to bathe at the river. Her maidens walked along by the riverside, and she saw the basket among the reeds and sent her servant to get it. She opened it and saw the child, and behold, the baby cried. She had compassion on him and said, this is one of the Hebrew children. Then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, should I go and call a nurse for you from the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for you? Pharaoh's daughter said, go. The young woman went and called the child's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, take this child away and nurse him for me, and I will give you your wages. The woman took the child and nursed it. The child grew, and she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses, and said, because I drew him out of the water. In those days, when Moses had grown up, he went out to his brothers and saw their burdens. He saw an Egyptian striking a Hebrew, one of his brothers. He looked this way and that, and when he saw there was no one, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. He went out the second day, and behold, 2 men of the Hebrews were fighting with each other. He said to them, who did the wrong? Why do you strike your fellow? He said, who made you a prince and a judge over us? Do you plan to kill me as you killed the Egyptian? Well, Moses was afraid and said, surely this thing is known. Now, when Pharaoh heard this thing, he sought to kill Moses. But Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and lived in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters. They came and drew water and filled the troughs to water their father's flock. The shepherds came and drove them away, but Moses stood up and helped them and watered their flock. When they came to Reuel, their father, he said, how is it that you have returned so early today? They said, an Egyptian delivered us out of the hand of the shepherds, and moreover, he drew water for us and watered our flocks. He said to his daughters, where is he? Why is it that you have left the man? Call him, that he may eat bread. Moses was content to dwell with the man. He gave Moses Zipporah, his daughter. She bore a son, and he named him Gershom, for he said, I have lived as a foreigner in a foreign land. In the course of those days, many days, the king of Egypt died, and the children of Israel sighed because of the bondage, and they cried. And their cry came up to God because of the bondage. God heard their groaning, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. God saw the children of Israel, and God understood. That was Exodus 2. We will end there today, or this video, and we'll start the next video on Exodus 3. That was the book of Exodus, chapters 1 and 2 on video number 19. I would like to thank you for joining me in this project, this endeavor to read the entire Bible. I hope you enjoy listening as much as I enjoy reading it. Please feel free to comment if you so desire. Also, please subscribe and give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I hope you come back for the next video, and until then, thank you, and I hope you have a blessed day. I'm NatsMan, and I'm out.